3, 2, 1.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
From one street course to another, from Belle Isle to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Join us for round number 6 of the IMSA Online Sportscar Championship here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll be back just after this. We're back for yet another week then of RaceSpot TV Friday prime time. This season it is IMSA, and we've had some fantastic races so far this season, and one of them was last week with the battle in the prototypes between Johan Harth and Eric Andre. Fantastic fight right in the dying moments, and hopefully we'll be seeing fighting like that here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I am Connery Maddock, and joining me in the commentary booth today, and he's very, very new to this, so cut him some slack, it's going to be Stephen Burbidge. Now, Stephen, as this qualifying is starting to draw to a close, first of all, how are you doing? And second of all, what are you expecting from this race?
I'm really excited to be here. This is a fantastic circuit and lots of interesting ways to approach corners. I'm really interested to see how the drivers work around each other, because as we were discussing previously before the broadcast went on, it's very limited in passing opportunities, so it'll be interesting to see how these classes work around each other today.
That would be very, very interesting indeed. As I've already mentioned, qualifying is drawing to a close. Unfortunately, we do have a pretty small prototype field here today. Johan Harth currently provisionally pole in that particular class. Jack Cedric putting in a good lap time for GTEs as well. Got Philip Weber as well, who had a pretty big feature last time out at Belle Isle. He currently holds a provisional pole in that particular field. But the thing is, just looking at the cars that are out there on circuit right now, I don't think anyone is going to be close enough to be able to complete a final qualifying lap here. So as we get under 10 seconds remaining before we get to the grid, I think now is an apt time to go through your qualifying results. As we get those ones up on screen for you now, it's going to be Johan Harth starting pole position in your prototype field. And right there on your screen, you see the front of the GTE field. I'll go into why in just a couple of moments' time, but Jack Sedgwick starting pole position in your GTE field. Kazuki Umeshima as well trades the open wheel cars for a bit of GT racing action starting front row of the GTEs. Got Thibaut Kazubon and Antitero further back as well. Alex Simonich and Vincenzo Silvestri share a row behind them. Evan Marion and Dakota Fripp as well bring things down towards the top 10 side of things. And if you see cycle all the way back through your GTE field, you see the likes of Jan Sinkowski, you see Calvin Foyden as well right at the back. And that is the reason why, of course, we have a little bit of a mixed up grid here, because Ian Kwas actually further down in that prototype field, actually setting lap times slower than GTE class, but we will just ignore that one for now. Philip Weber setting the pole position time in your GT3 field, with Soren Kolosdiej there on the front row of the grid, with Wim Stotmans and Radjovic behind there on that second row. Marcus Kruger and Lamogli third row in the grid for your GT3s. Roque Garcia and Sadolis line up right behind them, with Jordan Fisher, Vince Peters, CM Skinner, Michael Fontini as well further back through the field. Doncato Inglese, you've got Arno Lapire further behind as well, and then you've got the cars further back through your field that did not set lap time, Thomas Gibson and Neil Jackson as well. But doesn't matter what those qualifying times were for those prototypes, since they all start at the front in front of everyone else right now, with Johan Haas setting that pole position. Could argue there's going to be a pretty easy race for him today, as long as he gets the first lap over and done with. But in this GTE field and this GT3 field, that is a completely different story indeed. Lots of talent that could potentially get themselves to the front of the field, as you'll have that pace car just pull away. A very, very short run down towards the start of this event. So Johan Harth and the rest of the drivers, they don't have a lot of time to get their thoughts in a line and get their heart rates down for the start of this race. Down this very, very long back straight, where you'll see quite a few passing moves, at least attempted, down in towards that very, very tight and twisty final chicane. You've also got the very interesting pit lane entry straight on the racing line as well, as you see the pace car dive down on towards the safety of pit lane. Control of the field with Johan Harth, as he will go. We're going to get green flag racing here at Montreal. Your 3-car prototype field storms themselves down towards the first turn. Absolutely no dramas there. Your very busy GTE field, they're bumping and banging coming through the final chicane to get their particular race started. They're side by side further back. You see multiple instances of side by side, and then you've got the GTE3 field not too far behind these guys either. So this could be a moment coming down in towards the first turn for the first time for these particular drivers. You see a little bit of side by side going on further back between Silvestri and I think that was Joao Caroni in the GTE field, but they managed to all file themselves through the first sector relatively okay here, Stephen. So good start from all.
Yeah, very good start, and really impressed with the GT3 field, because you saw they all went single file very early on, because they realized it's a narrow circuit, no sense bending the car up in the first couple turns.
Battling further back through your GTE field, Scott Brazier, number 10, versus Thomas Gibson. So this is going to be Ferrari versus Ford on the way down towards the second chicane on his lap. We've got Thomas Gibson on the inside, later on the brakes into the braking zone as well. He can actually get that pass complete right from the back of that GTE field. So he's starting to make some inroads early here, as further forward in your GTE field, down in towards the hairpin they go. Evan Marion in the number 18 actually gets a little bit of a tap from behind from Peter Similek there in the number 15. So can be a little bit congested coming down into that heavy braking zone of the hairpin, especially on the first couple of laps. But everyone has gotten themselves through there fine, and it looks like we don't have any retirements going on to the lap number 2. Through the final chicane they go. You can see this amazing view there on the cameras, just of these huge amount of GT cars as they head their way to complete their first lap. Doesn't seem to be that much fighting, although we do see it further back in your field there. We'll see 3 wide between Fisher, Garcia, and Lamogli down in towards the first turn, but they will get themselves at least 2 wide coming down through this tight and twisty first sector. You see Fisher on the inside there in that AMG Mercedes, battling with his sister Mercedes there in Roque Garcia. Roque Garcia has to hang it around the outside of turn number 3, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. Turn number 3 and 4 can get very, very congested, Stephen, if you're not too careful.
Very much indeed. Further ahead, we got the GTE class, and you have 2 Ford GTs that seem to have broken away, and then you got another pack of 2 Ford GTs and Ferraris.
Yeah, we do. As we keep an eye on this, well, the battle is a little bit further there down in towards the hairpin. I believe this one's going to be the one involving Kazu Bonds, Alex Simonich, and Antiteru, as well as you see those 4 GTE cars stacked up coming through the hairpin. And it's so important to get a good exit out of here, because you can pay absolute dividends as you get the run down towards that final chicane. But don't forget, live timing and scoring is available. Visit racesport.tv/timing for all of your live timing needs. You've got a little bit of a battle back in your GT3 field. This is Kruger versus Fisher, so the 33 versus the 29. They'll hit it side by side down the back straight. So will Lamogli and Garcia, which is that battle second in line. Fisher late on the brakes on the outside, able to get to the first apex. Has to hop over the curb for the second apex. There's a little bit of contact behind involving Lamogli, so Lamogli is going to be slow off the corner. Garcia is going to be slow off the corner. Those are the 2 cars on your right-hand side right now. Garcia, slow down penalty. He has to drop in back in behind, and that is always a risk coming through that final chicane there. If you hop over the second curb, you are going to get hit with that slow down penalty, Stephen.
We got a DP around.
Yeah, it looks like the number 34 of Ian Kwas has had an unfortunate, I believe this is going to be self-spin, as we'll see that one on the replay for you down in towards turn number 3, turn number 4, and he's just got it all wrong on the exit of the corner there over the curb. And in fact, he is still on track, believe it or not, trying to get that car pointed in the right direction. Fortunately, there was no one around him, so that could get collected in that one as he was trying to get it sorted. But back to the live racing right now, as you have that battle involving Kazuki Umeshima. You've got Fibo Kazubon, you've got Alex Simonich and Antiteru involved in this battle for your last podium position in your GTE field. And Stephen, we've seen these Fords, at least in this season, be so strong compared to the Ferrari. It never used to be the case. Some drivers strayed away from this Ford because it drives so differently to any GT car out there. But with the recent patch, with the recent balance of performance changes, it looks like this Ford has really come to the forefront.
Yes, it has, and we see that here today. You got 4 Fords leading the field with the GTE class, but I mean the Ferraris definitely are not far behind. I think you're seeing a little bit of driver influence there too. So I mean, proper to give the credit to the improvements in the BOP, but also just to how the level of the drivers in each of the respective cars.
Kazubon just raises the wall a little bit there, coming out of turn number 4. That's going to be a little bit of damage to the driver's right-hand side of his Ford GTE, but we're riding on board right now on the roof of Alex Simonich, the driver of the number 14, as he tries to sense and tries to look for this move on that blue and green Ford ahead of him. But unfortunately for him, there is no opportunity arising for him just yet. He's also got to be a little bit concerned about Antiteru behind as well. So got to be looking forward, got to be looking in those mirrors as well to make sure that you keep position. But it looks like Kazubon's just pushed a little bit wide there coming out of the hairpin. That's going to compromise his run down into on the back straight. But that Ford just does seem to have quite a lot of low speed traction coming out of the corner, so he's able to mitigate that one, Stephen.
Yes, further back you got GT3, and it looks like Weaver's pulling away from the rest of the field. So he's getting, he looks like about 3 car lengths ahead. So if he keeps his pace up, he's going to give some nice breathing room in case he does get on the curves a little too aggressive later on.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to pull out the gap, as we do have a little bit of trainer cars further back in your GT3 field. That was going to be involving the likes of Marcus Kruger, Sadalis. We've got Lamogli as well, who are battling actually just a couple of laps ago. So and things might be starting to spark once again in this particular battle, as Lamogli has to take a quick hop over the curb, and that means CM Skinner's going to have an opportunity. I believe it's behind this car that we were riding on board with right now. But as they head down in towards turn number 1, then there'll still be no changes of position, and that is just showing how difficult it is to overtake here. You can get those opportunities to be able to overtake, but it's very rare that you'll be able to actually complete them down in towards one of the braking zones. But we have a car off there. I believe that is one of the prototypes. It's just a matter of which prototype that is. That is Neil Jackson, driver of number 32. That's had himself a couple of issues coming down in towards the second chicane. We'll see that one on the replay. Down onto the brakes, just didn't get the car stopped enough. Has to go around for a spin, and actually on the live pictures he's had a little bit of contact with Vincenzo Silvestri in the GTE field, so things go from bad to worse for Neil Jackson right now.
And we'll
stick with the replay here, Stephen. Yeah, hit from behind was Marcus Kruger there, and also that caused a little bit more of an incident behind as well. But he'll just try to get himself off and away, and will do so without much damage to his AMG Mercedes. But we've currently got battling involving the number 9 right now. This is Vincenzo Silvestri that did pick up a little bit of damage as a result of that prototype hitting him from behind. Battling with Dakota Fripp down in towards turn number 1, driver number 2, as we'll see another slow car there. That's the Team Huizenfeld car, is one of those. That's Jan Sinkowski that's just trying to get himself out of the way. Yeah, I believe that is a slowdown penalty for Sinkowski, but obviously he served that now and is willing to take the fight with Brazier down in towards turn number 3, but Brazier is more confident on the brakes, able to get himself through. But Sinkowski, more momentum through the corners, means he's able to challenge through the fast right and then down into the left here, not sensing the dive down into that corner though. So a couple of drivers, Stephen, actually getting hit by these slowdown penalties early on, which is going to really hurt them when the whole pack is this close together.
Yeah, that's definitely a mistake you don't want to make, especially here, because most of the place you have to put it back is on a long straight, and that's going to cost you a lot of time. Interesting things up in the GTE field, you got Omisha, and I think I said that right. If not, please let me know. Has pulled away from the group of 4 he was previously racing with and closing in on the leading 2 Ford GTs.
Yeah, he is. Just having a little bit of a look in terms of the lap times. He was actually 0.8 of a second faster than Benjamin Gonzalez that last time by. So the health of P number 2, perhaps quickly, going to be very much on here as Umashima tries to close down. As I'm looking at something further back, I think that
Alex
was
Simonik, it looks like.
Excuse me, that's, yeah, Alex Simonich having I believe he was having an issue there coming out of the final chicane. I believe he just got himself a slowdown penalty coming over that first apex, in fact, which is not the usual apex in that complex where you get the slowdown penalty. Usually it's the second one, but he's a bit too over-eager on that first one there, Stephen.
Yeah, we can see right here the onboard. He's chasing down the Ford GT, gets on the brakes, but gets a little too aggressive on this first curve, which messes up him on the second one, gets a little on the rumble strip, and off he goes.
Yeah, exactly. Has to pull off to the side of the racing circuit, just lift off the throttle just a little bit, and get that slowdown penalty served. You see a battle up on your screen right now involving Luigi Nespolino then. This is battling further back in your GTE field, but they're all stacked together once again. We've got Calvin Freuden as well, looking to get himself involved on the outside there, as you can see it coming down in towards the corner, but still no opportunities for him to make his way by. We've got Brazier on the back of this train as well as Sinkowski as well, so even though these are the final couple of spots in your GTE field, they're still fighting tooth and nail for it, and perhaps a little bit too much, because Nespolino has been tagged around there by Voidrentes. Oh, he's going to come across in front of him and sends him into the wall as well. I'm going to have to take another look at that, because if this is what I think it was, that was very unsportsmanlike. Look on the replay. We'll see. Nespolino tagged from behind. Does he deliberately drift over and take out the driver next to him? Ooh, I think, I don't usually like to say it, and I don't usually like to be the judge and the jury on this one, but I think that was a little bit of rage involved there, Stephen.
I would have to agree with you there. I mean, myself been in racing online for, I think it's about 10 years, and That's one of those things. It's like you hate to make that assumption, but it looked very, very suspicious.
Yeah, it did look very, very suspicious indeed, and I wouldn't be surprised if a protest is filed with wonderful iRacing steward that is going to be Nim Cross Jr. So maybe he'll have a look at it if a driver decides that is perhaps a little bit unsportsmanlike. We certainly think it is. But returning to the live racing right now is we'll have a little bit of a look at P2 in your GTE field, because this was a battle that was actually closing up last time that we looked at it. It seems to have evened up in terms of the lap times right now. So Kazuki Umeshima, he's not able to set those low 133s that he was able to just a little bit earlier on. He did a 133.0 on lap number 5. His most recent lap time is 133.7, so not able to consistently get into those low 133s, as we'll go towards P number 5 instead in your GTE field. That's going to be Thibaut Kazubon versus Antitero as they come across the line. Kazubon, a 134.3 and a 134.6 from Antitero, so Tero's just going to have to do a little bit more here if he wants to take P number 4 off of Kazubon here, Stephen.
And further back in your GT3, it looks like Weber's lost a bit of his lead he had earlier on. Yeah,
certainly seems to be the case. Weber just being tracked down right now by I'm not even. I'm just going to call him Soren there from the driver of the number 20. I believe if there's anyone that knows how to pronounce that last name, I would absolutely love to hear it in our YouTube chat right now. I would just avoid it for now. But Philipp Weber, he's going to have a little bit of a challenge on his hands right now, since he has lost that gap that he was leading by to Soren here. So Soren, he's able to put in some pretty good lap times, although the lap times did go in favor of Philipp Weber that last time by 0.2 of a second. So it must have been a mistake a little bit earlier on that's put Weber back into this position. But having a look back into your GTE field, because there is quite a train developing behind Alex Simonich, driver of the number 14, because we've got Coroni, Silvestri, Marion, Peter Similek, we've got Thomas Gibson as well involved in this particular train. So it's the usual mid-pack train in GTEs that we see in this IMSA series, but it doesn't seem like there are any fireworks going off yet in terms of the battle in this particular area. So we might have a little bit of an issue. Dakota Fripp, he looks like he's got a little bit of damage to that car. I believe that's more towards the rear end of that one, which is why he has dropped off the back of that field, as we've had Umeshima having himself a couple of issues as well. He didn't have the last lap logged for him, so he might have had a slowdown penalty coming out of the final chicane, if I'm going to wind this one back to try and see if that is the case. And yes, Umeshima, slowdown penalty out of the final chicane. He's not the only driver to fall foul to that one, Stephen.
No, and that seems to be the trouble spot for a lot of the drivers here today. But, you know, it's one of those things, you don't want to lose a lot of time there, because you do have the front straight, which is relatively long and a place you can kind of set up into 1 and 2. But by the same token, you can get too aggressive and get into the wall. So finding that balance can be quite difficult, and it seems to be troubling drivers here today.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to be so careful with those track limits. Thank you very much Matt Hurst in the YouTube chat. That is the driver of the number 20. His name's Kolodzi, I believe, is Kolodzi. As I will try to get that one right, even though it's spelled out to me in the chat. I'm very, very sorry, as we have a little bit of an incident that has gone on in towards turn number 1. As we'll have a look at 31 car on the replay right now. This is Vince Peters down in towards turn number 1, very deep on the brakes to try and challenge the car ahead. And I believe the technical definition of that one was going to be a send it. That just completely failed, Stephen.
Yeah, and the contact afterwards was a little peculiar as well, because they came back together and went, I guess they were butting heads about the contact a little bit. Oh, wow.
What a GTE. Oh, my God. This one's going to be involving the Kazubon battle. That's Kazubon, Tero, and Umeshima. Umashima's lost 2 positions here in this one as they head their way down towards turn number 3. So Umeshima made another mistake. He did get that slowdown penalty that had brought him back into the clutches of both Kazubon and Antitero, but both those drivers have actually managed to make themselves get themselves by the Radicals Online driver of Umeshima. But now you see Tero, he's being so aggressive right now in that Ferrari over the Ford ahead of him. Will sit in within the slipstream and will try to get this pass done for the second chicane. Defensive inside line taken then for Kazubon down and towards the right. Tero looking for the cutback, looking for the line through the corner. Does get the line through the corner. He'll get the momentum off as well. So he'll take this fight down towards that turn number 10 hairpin. Outside line it has to be for the Finnish driver, rubbing paint then down in towards the very slow hairpin. Tero on the outside has to fall back in line, but he might have yet another opportunity coming down the back straight now, trying to use as much of that slipstream as possible. Pulls towards driver's right hand side. Preferred line on the entry here to the final chicane, but who is going to back out since he can't really go too wide through here? Tero just edges his way ahead, and he's managed to gain the position there as long as he doesn't hit the wall on the outside, and he has managed to get away with it then. So it's going to be Antitero getting himself up into that final podium slot with what was a fantastic battle in the second half of that lap, Stephen.
Yes, and I mean, it's kind of like what we spoke about earlier. It's all about the braking zones here. You've got, you know, just these long straights, and then you set up these very tight chicanes. So it's a little gutsy, and it was a really gutsy move, but he pulled it off beautifully.
I did just get a little bit of a... Well, my ears were telling me that some of these cars were grazing the wall there coming out of turn number 4, and I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, as these guys have been pushing 110% throughout this race. Don't forget, we also have pit stops to factor into this one as well in this 45-minute event, so even that can just shake things up a little bit. One field that we haven't been paying attention to is that prototype field, mostly because it's the Johan Harthrow right at the front of the field, with the other two prototypes actually out of this event. So he's basically getting a free win in this one, is Johan Harth, so we won't have to pay much attention to him, but all the attention is going to be on this GTE fight right now, because Kazubon and Umeshima, they are still getting very close together indeed.
Yes, and with this battle, all these drivers have to be careful not to make a mistake, because they are so close. If they get in, you know, a course cut, or they get a little too wide and get loose and have to slow down, they're going to lose more than one position. You're going to be 2 or 3 positions potentially.
Yeah, exactly, because you have the likes of Simonich behind, Gerard Caroni, Silvestri as well, all vying for position. And, you know, even if you don't get a cut in the course penalty, just by going side by side, you're actually bringing yourself back into the clutches of those cars behind. So then they can make this one mega train for position. And, you know, who knows what could happen in that sort of situation, because when these cars are all close together, they can all get a little bit antsy trying to find those moves. We'll see 2 wide, we'll see 3 wide, and we might see cars in the barrier, but let's hope it doesn't come to that, as these guys are currently heading towards 25 minutes to go in this one, so we're getting pretty close at this stage to getting to that halfway point. We're expecting the first set of pit stops to come in around about lap number 17, lap number 18 is when these guys like to start to think about coming down on towards the lane. That'll be mainly for your GT3 field initially. Usually your GTE fields are the last to pit, as we're having a look at that GT3 field. In fact, battle for P number 5 going on right now between Jordan Fisher and Lamogli here, the 29 and 21 here, Stephen.
Yeah, and I mean, the GT3's probably been behaving themselves the most out of the 3 fields. They've been keeping it clean, keeping it single file, but it's definitely not been an easy race for anybody back there.
No, it hasn't, especially when you get yourself into these sorts of top splits where the competition is mighty fierce. But Lamogli right now, pretty locked onto the back of Jordan Fisher at this moment in time. Let's just see if he's able to gain the position at any point during this lap. Of course, they have pretty similar machinery in the fact that they are both AMG Mercedes. Just the setup is going to be a little bit different on those two cars depending on driver preference. Here we go. Lamogli sends it down the inside at turn number 10. Has he outbroke himself? It looks like he has. Fisher able to make the cut back off of the corner. They'll take it side by side, then down onto the back straight. But I think Fisher just has a very, very slight overspeed here, just able to get himself ahead. But that is still going to mean that Lamogli is still going to fight this one down towards the final chicane. Battle of the late breakers, then down in towards here is neck and neck. They will go down in towards the corner. Lamogli and Fisher. Oh, that usually can't happen, but it does. Lamogli has managed to get himself ahead through the final chicane, and Fisher has lost a lot of momentum here. Might come under threat from Solotis here, but what a move there, Stephen, from Lamogli.
That was definitely a breathtaking maneuver right there, but we can't take away from the fact the amount of respect you have to have with the other driver to make a move like that work. So hats off to both drivers right there.
Yeah, brilliant racecraft on display right now, as we see a first couple of pitters actually in your GT3 field just come through and try to get their service done. We've got Donato Inglese currently down on towards the lane. We've got another GTE car that's actually a retiree from this event, so he won't be coming off the pit lane anytime soon. So we're starting to see a couple of pitters here. Thomas Gibson actually bringing himself in for the number 3 car there as well. So drips and drabs coming in at this moment in time. No big pit party just yet. We might see that over the next couple of laps, but lap number 15, it's fine for these GTEs to come into pit lane at this point, but it's not the usual late stop that we see from this particular field. So I'm very interested to see what the strategy is for that number 3 car at this moment in time, Stephen.
Yeah, very interested to see what the strategy these guys play as well. What's interesting, we were talking about earlier, the battling and how much it can slow you down, and we can see how much that's really caught P3 further back, because 1 and 2 of GTE is just taken off and really put a gap on the rest of the grid.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. Oh, we've got a hitter of the Wheel of Champions. Lamogli, after pulling off a fantastic pass into this section just a lap ago, has actually put himself into the Wall of Champions. So the Wall of Champions takes its first victim in this event. It was just a case of Lamogli just getting over that first curb. Car wanted to spin towards the outside. He had to get on the brakes, but unfortunately that didn't stop him hitting that oh-so-famous wall tire barrier on the outside of that particular corner. So from hero to zero, pretty much, you can argue, from Lamogli, at least in terms of that particular section of the racetrack. So he'll have to carry this damage all the way.
It looks like Inglese just spun in the hairpin.
Yeah, Inglese is tried to find that one. It's the number 28. So the driver that did come on towards the pit lane last time by is at an unfortunate spin in this one. So driver's starting to lose a little bit of concentration, maybe a little bit, as we get towards this pit stop phase. We have Evan Marion, the number 18, come down on towards the lane. So yet another pitter in GTE, which is surprising. Maybe some of these GTE machines just wanting to get out of the way of the traffic right now and go for those early stops and trying to find a little bit of clear air, which could be one of the reasons for these early stops, Stephen.
It makes sense to me, and I think the biggest key here is making sure you avoid as much of the traffic coming back through the field after your pit stop as possible.
Yeah, exactly. We've got another couple of GT3 cars as well. We've got the number 20 down on towards the lane to get his service done, and it's worth noting that no cars will be taking tires in this situation. The race is simply too short for tires to be a factor. We have Lamogli actually coming down on towards the lane as well for the number 21, so perhaps he'll get a little bit of front end damage repaired involving in this stop as well. We've got CM Skinner deciding to make his way in as well. So this is more what we expected here from these fields, with the GT3s coming in a little bit earlier than GTEs, even though there's some GTE cars that have decided to take early pit stops.
Gonzalez just came in.
Yeah, we've got Benjamin Gonzalez down on towards the lane. We've got Thibaut Kazubon as well. So now the front runners in GTEs are deciding, maybe now's a good time to pit, as we'll see a couple of cars filing off of the pit lane as well. CM Skinner right in the middle of a battle for position in your GTE field, but he'll get himself well out of the way and help Omashima and Simonitz continue on their particular battle through turn number 3 and turn number 4, as there's always that sound effect of cars grazing the wall coming out of turn number 4. They're just leaving it that close to the wall that iRacing actually does trigger the sound effect of grazing the wall. They're getting that close, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, what they say about the track limits, you either use all of it or you're leaving some on the table. So these drivers are definitely going all in, especially at turn 4. But this is a track you have to go all in because you have the walls right there. So if you don't use it that close, then you're losing time and you're losing speed.
Yeah, we've got more GT3 cars down on towards lane. Wim Stockmans, Milan Radiovic there as well in that number 24 machine. That he decides to down and get his service done, as well as we're not seeing huge groups of cars pitting all together in this race. We're just seeing the cars coming down maybe in ones, twos, trios, and that's just about it. No entire field pitting on one lap shenanigans, at least just yet. So that is going to be an interesting one in your GT3. Maybe the pit lane, the pit window is a little bit wide here, as Anti-Terro has actually decided to come down on towards the lane as well. So this is P number 2 in your GTE field, coming down on towards the lane and getting his pit stop service done. It'd be very interesting to see where he comes out in relation to the likes of Kazu Bon, who pitted just a little bit earlier, as Terro gets himself stopped in his box then to get his fuel service to the end of the race. Kazu Bon is just heading his way through that final chicane. So will Anti-Terro get out ahead of Kazubon, or will he come out behind? Terro gets his service done. He's coasting down the pit lane right now between the green cones. Kazubon down in towards turn number 1. Terro on pit lane exit. This could be very close, but Terro manages to squeak his way ahead there. So fine margins in the pit stop, Stephen.
It is, but it seems that Gonzalez made the right call pitting us when he did, because he had the gap. He pitted to avoid getting caught in traffic, and there he is again in P2 with just another nice margin to P3.
Yep, we have Johan Half in, but this one is just more of a processional sort of occasion for Johan Half, as he is the only prototype left in this field. So as long as he gets that car to the end, he'll be classified as the race winner. But in terms of the rest of the field, which is a little bit more exciting, we have your GT3 leader then come down in for his pit stop service. Philip Weber, he's actually got it done already. He'll head his way between the green cones then back out there on the racing circuit ahead of Kolozic here, and he will be able to try to pull away late on in this race. Wim Stockmans, though, able to challenge that driver number 20, perhaps for P number 2 here, but he really, really needs to put in those hard yards, Stephen.
Yeah, he will. I mean, now we're in the second half of this race. It's even more pressure because the clock is ticking, time is running out, and there's limited places to make a maneuver. So you want to put the pressure on, you want the guys looking in the mirrors, but at the same token, you don't want to bend it yourself, and it's really easy to make a mistake here, as we've been seeing today.
Very easy indeed, as we're riding on the top of Wim Stockman's, right, on Wim Stockman's car right now, of the AMG Mercedes, trying to chase down Colozzi there, but not having the best of luck, as the gap stands around about 8.5 tenths of a second as they head their way down in towards turn number 10. But Colozzi has actually pushed a little bit wide there on the hairpin, and he's going to lose a little bit of time as a result of that one. So Wim Stockmans can reel him back in here, but unless Wim Stockmans has some sort of qualifying pace in that Mercedes, I doubt he'll be able to challenge for P number 2 on the podium right now. But it's something that will definitely very much keep a close eye on, as the rest of the battles have kind of thinned out at this stage, but there's still some going on in GT3, especially between Roque Garcia and Ricardo Lamogli. And we've also got Fisher, the battle between Fisher and Salutis involved, as well as Salutlius down the inside, then down towards the chicane. Oh, we've seen this again. We've seen this before, and we've seen it again. A pass being made through that final chicane. Absolutely brilliant to see, as we actually have your GTE leaders finally heading themselves down on towards the lane. Cedric, Umashima, Simonech. We've got Gerard Karoni, Dakota Fripp, Jan Sinkowski, Sok Brazier as well. Finally, we get a good pit party going on here, as Jack Cedric will head his way off of the lane.
And look at Gonzalez.
Yeah.
He is coming right around.
Yeah, exactly. Gonzalez managing to sneak his way ahead of I believe that was the car of Simonic, which is the one he was battling. He was also battling with Umeshima, and Umeshima's almost overcooked the exit off pit lane there. Will lose time as a result of that one. So Simonic is able to track him down towards the turn number 3, but simply not close enough to be able to bring it alongside down into there. Grazes the wall once again on the outside of turn number 4, and he has lost time as a result of that one. So now that we've had all the pit stop services done for GTE, the battles have come back together once again, but the big benefactor of that entire situation, Stephen, was Gonzalez. He came out ahead of everyone.
Yes, he did, and again, that goes back to the strategy we were talking about earlier. Gonzalez pitted when he had a gap, where when he'd come back out, he'd also be in clean air. So he's kept clean air, which means he's been able to preserve the tires, which means he'll have it to be able to pull away towards the end of this last part of the race.
He definitely looked to do so, but the thing is, there's a thing we haven't talked about all that much so far this race, and excuse me, that was, well, the issue with the GT3 traffic, which can be a factor in these GTE battles. So Gonzalez can't be too comfortable at this stage. He knows that Jack Sedgwick is a little bit too far ahead to be able to challenge for the race win, but he has pretty comfortable P number 2 as long as he doesn't get too held up by these bits of traffic ahead of him. He'll go down the inside of CM Skinner here, down in towards turn number 1, and be able to put these GT3 cars in between himself and his GTE rivals further behind. But I think the car that Antitero is going to be more concerned about in P number 3 there is that car behind. Kazuki Umeshima has been so quick in this event, has made a couple of mistakes though with those slowdown penalties, but he's a driver that can really come back from the jaws of defeat. He is a World Championship Grand Prix Series driver after all, so he knows how to manage these sorts of stressful situations even.
True, but Tierno is really just using every inch of the tarmac that he can take advantage of. I mean, you can see him, he's got a tire off on the grass here, he's jumping the curbs, he's very aggressive, but he's seemed to hold his Ferrari together. So the big question is, can he continue with this aggressive pattern and this aggressive strategy and keep keep the Ferrari one piece, or will it cause him a mistake? That's the only thing about aggressive driving. You never quite know how it's going to shake down in the closing laps.
You never do know, and there's also the issue of traffic that these guys have to deal with. There's a big chunk of GT3 cars that are starting to come up on, which he doesn't hit these GTE cars as much when they get caught behind GT3 traffic, especially when you talk about the prototypes, but unfortunately, because the prototype race is completely over in this race right now with Johan Half, it's the only dynamic that we have in terms of that traffic is between these GTEs and these GT3s as well. So Antitero, he's got a slow down penalty. Oh no, he has to slow down on the exit of the final chicane. Took the curb a little bit too aggressive once again. We've seen so many drivers do that same thing over the course of this race. Umeshima now promoted up into P number 3, but this battle definitely isn't over yet because we've got Simonic behind looking very aggressive as well. Umeshima's going to get caught behind this GT3 machine here, which could spell trouble for him, especially on the exit of turn number 4 if he gets held up more. He does get held up more. Simonic potentially has the run down in towards the first chicane here, but he's not going to have space to be able to make the move. He's going to follow his man so tightly coming up through this chicane, but because of the positioning of that GT3 car, the move wasn't on the outside of the corner, so he's just going to have to stay in line for now once again. Antitero, he's dropped all the way to the back of this train right now, currently position number 5 out there in the class. So that is exactly what you were talking about, Stephen, especially when you're in a big clump of cars like this. One mistake, go to the back of the train.
Yes, you are. I'll tell you what, though, it was really impressive back of the hairpin. Simonic just went there and kept behind Oshimura, and that did a great job to keep that lap traffic from breaking in between them and allowing Oshimura to pull away.
Yeah, good racecraft on show once again, and what else do we expect from a 6,000 strength of field in this GTE field? Very strong competition in this class. Here we've got a 3,000 strength of field in GT3, we got 2,200 in your prototype class. Kazubon right now is currently in mid-pack in your GTE field, is actually Umeshima, has he had a slowdown penalty as well? He has had a slowdown penalty as well, so he'll actually give the position back to Antitero right now. So I'm just trying to confirm what I have just said there. Down on towards the first curb of that final chicane. Umashima getting the slowdown penalty, so he's brought back into a battle with Antiterro, who got the slowdown penalty on the previous lap. That's just insane there, Stephen. Both those drivers cutting it so close over the curbs in the final chicane that both of them get a slowdown penalty one lap after the other.
It's all about the pressure from behind. You get the lead car to look in their mirrors, you get them thinking about what's behind them, they forget their line in front of them, and it leads to careless mistakes like those.
Yeah, and you can't be affording you can't afford to make those mistakes this late on in the race. We have under 10 minutes to go here, which is looking at about, I would argue, about on the border between 7.5 and 6.5 laps to go for these guys right now. So, you know, when you have that little time left, go on.
Oh, well, these battles are far from over because there's still GT3 ahead of these GTE field, especially this pack here for third. So anything can happen, especially in these closing minutes.
Of course, with Umashima dropping back because of that slowdown penalty, that does promote Alex Simonich up into the P3 spot right now. So he perhaps wasn't expecting this. He's had two cars in front of him have slowdown penalties and just gift him positions here left and right, and all of a sudden he finds himself in a podium spot. He will get held up a little bit by this GT3 car coming through the first sector though. Caroni is able to challenge back, but here we get further back though. We've got Vincenzo Silvestri versus Evan Marion. This is for going to be, if I'm having a look at that one, that's going to be P number 8, P number 9 in your GTE field. Fripp having to deal with Silvestri there down the inside, able to get it done in corner number 3, but Silvestri having to challenge on the outside of turn number 5. A little bit of contact between those two cars. Silvestri looking for a line in towards turn number 6, but unable to find one. Has to stay behind for now. So Dakota Fripp able to get that pass done in sector 1 of this track. Can Silvestri do anything later on this lap? Does he have the pace to do anything later on this lap? I don't think so, but I've definitely been very, very wrong before. So maybe the next target on Dakota Fripp's list is that Ford GT of Evan Marion further down the road.
Turn 10.
Yep, down and towards turn number 10. There's a little bit of congestion here, you have to say, for Kazuki Umashima. So he has to be a little bit careful, especially down in towards that final chicane, because if he's side by side with a GT3 car, that is not the ideal situation, let me tell you that one. But he's actually going to have to stay behind this GT3 car down into there, so he's going to lose yet more time coming up through this chicane, and he's going to come under threat potentially from Kazubon from behind if he's not too careful. He has to get disposed with this traffic very, very quickly. Roque Garcia on the outside then, trying to let those Ford GTs by on the inside, but Garcia, ooh, he's going to back out of that one, so he knows that this fight isn't his fight to fight and just lets them through. But again, this traffic is just not helping these GTEs at the moment. No,
and Fisher was really making it difficult for Tiro and Caroni, so we'll see what's going to happen with Fisher, especially because he seemed really aggressive among the GTE cars, so that might cause some issue for some of the following drivers there.
Yeah, Kazubon having to take an outside line through the second part of that first chicane, so that's going to be a little bit of lost time for him as well. As the battles for P number 3, 4, and 5 in your GTE class, those have spread out just a little bit, but the one for P number 6 and 7 between Umashima and Kazubon, that is very much on. Same with Evan Marion for P number 8 and Dakota Fripp, and Vincenzo Silvestri for P number 8, 9, and 10 as well. Battle though, Roque Garcia, Jordan Fisher, this is in your GT3 field for position, as they will be P number 6 and P number 7 out of the corner, out of the hairpin they will go, still side by side with bits of traffic looking to make their way by behind, but I'm afraid those guys will have to wait. This is a battle for position. They have the right to battle for position no matter what advisory blue flags are being shown out there on circuit. Fisher later on the brakes on the inside, able to get that car stopped for the corner. Better line taken though from Garcia, able to carry the momentum through the corner. The GTE car will go down the middle actually here to make it 3 wide between two different classes. Down in towards turn number 1. That was Fisher going onto the grass there as he gets his way down in towards the first couple of corners. And Garcia, this is absolute carnage here, an absolute mess. There's the GTE car of Dakota Fripp trying to make his way by. Even though these GT3 cars are fighting, this is just an absolutely crazy portion of the racetrack right now with these cars trying to lap each other and also battle at the same time, Stephen.
Wow, I'm just sitting here on the edge of my seat watching this battle between the GT3 and GTE. Just everybody dogging, looking for where they can get by each other. It's just, I mean, it's impressive. I'm surprised no one has put in the wall.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised there hasn't been any instant in this period of lapping here. But I think Dakota Fripp will be able to squeak his way by that GT3 machine down into towards the chicane. But Silvestri, he doesn't quite do the same down into the second chicane. He has to tag the back of Jordan Fisher on the exit of the corner. And that actually causes Fisher to get a slowdown penalty. And it allows Roque Garcia by. So, that's absolute tragedy there for Fisher. Through no fault of his own, he's been given a slowdown penalty because he got tagged from behind and actually had to take a shortcut across the second apex. That is an absolute shame.
I don't know, it's maybe a little bit of karma because he was driving those GTE cars really hard and making it very difficult for him. So maybe it's a little bit of payback, maybe not from a direct sense, but more on a, you kind of get back what you put in.
Yeah, maybe potentially a little bit of on-track justice being served there, at least in terms of the perspective of a couple of drivers out there on track. We will reserve our judgment, of course. But right now, as we have 3 minutes to go, just have a little bit of a lowdown of what the battles are out there on track. We've got Umeshima, we've got Kazu Bon, that is still a thing. Antitero and Evan Marion, they are still a battle that could climax at the end of this race. In GT3s though, those have calmed down just a little bit for the time being. Maybe over the next couple of laps at the end of this race they'll be able to give us a fight as well. But the closest battle right now is between the cars of, just having a look, actually right at the back of your GTE field. This is position number 14 and 15 in that particular class. This is Similek versus Gordon. They are very, very close indeed, and also having to deal with the GT3 traffic as well. So everyone in this GTE field having some troubles with the slower traffic ahead. But Gorton, just being very, very aggressive through that second chicane, just tagging the back of the Ferrari a little bit, coming through that sequence of corners. And the GT3 traffic's not exactly going to help here. And Gordon has punted the Mercedes across the turn number 10 hairpin. And that was a very, very easily avoidable incident there. You have to argue there, Stephen.
Man, that was quite a wild incident. Let's look at here the replay. So here we are, we're coming up, and Skinner's on the brakes, and there's the punt, around they go. But look at the battle between the Ford and the Ferrari through that corner. That was just as intense.
Yeah, it was just as intense. As we will return to the live pictures. Andy Gorton has actually managed to make his way by Similek there, so he's able to get the pass done despite having contact with the GT3 car down in towards the hairpin. I'm very interested right now in the Coroni-Simonech battle because that one closed up 0.3 of a second on that last lap, but there was not a lot of time remaining for Coroni to do anything about getting himself onto that final step of the podium. So he either has to go for the last-ditch effort of trying qualifying laps to the end, or he's just going to solidify his P number 4. But Antitero and Evan Marion, they are still close as well. We've got Jan Senkowski, and I believe that was Scott Brazier that were pretty close, but Sylvester Senkowski has managed to make his way by in that particular battle. So towards the end of the race now, we have 35 seconds left on the clock. Where is Johan Haag? He's heading his way through the turn number 10 hairpin right now. Your only prototype runner left running in this particular event. So it's going to be a pretty easy win then for the Race Clutch team. Will he slow down before the start finish line, or is he going to take us for an extra lap? 14 seconds down towards that final chicane, 10 seconds in the middle of it. I think we are going to go for just one more lap then in this field. The clock will tick down to 0 pretty much as he heads his way across the line there. So we will be going for this extra lap. So it's another lap for Gonzalez. Yeah, exactly. I was just about to point it out. He had no lap time logged that last time by, so that we're going to assume that's going to be a slowdown penalty out of the final chicane. Has brought Alex Simonech into a battle for P number 2 now. So he has a chance, albeit a slim one, but if Gonzalez makes any more mistakes, he is there and ready to capitalize. The lap traffic gets itself out of the way, then down towards that second chicane. as we draw Coroni diving down the inside then of Radiovic there. And he's able to get that bit of that traffic disposed of, as I'm currently having a look at Johan Hart. He's heading his way through the middle of, well, coming down towards the number 10 hairpin right now. So here we go. It's Alex Simonich looking for the inside. Remember, if they get lapped by the leading prototype here, they will actually finish the race on this lap. I don't think that's going to happen, so they'll head their way across the line and get themselves one more lap to go, since Johan Hart is a little bit too far back. So they have one more lap to try to sort out this particular battle between the Ford GT and the Ferrari. But the Ferrari gets such a good run out of that final corner that he's going to be able to challenge. Here comes Johan Hart then through the final turn, but oh my god, he's got himself caught up in an instant with a GTE machine. That's Evan Marion. He'll decide to reverse it across the line instead, just making a little bit of a good thing out of a horrible situation. Is Johan Hart half across the line, winning in reverse, in style. That is a way to finish the race. But the thing is, we've got a battle on for your GTE field. It is Gonzalez, it is Simonich. Battle for P number 2. Jack Sedgwick has actually brought himself back into this, believe it or not. So this might even be a battle for the GTE race win if they get a little bit closer. But the battle for P number 2, it's just going to be right now down towards that second chicane. Simonich, he's been so aggressive, but he needs to be a little bit more so if he's going to take this position over that Ford GT of Gonzalez. But Gonzalez might be looking for more right now, as he does gain time over Sedgwick over that chicane. So this could become a battle all the way down towards that final chicane. There Gonzalez looking greedy for the race lead then. Maybe would have been better served to get his line right through the hairpin, so he's able to challenge down into the final chicane. Jack Sedgwick got himself better traction out of the corner. He might be able to get away with this race win, but Simonich is much closer to Gonzalez now, down in towards the final chicane. It has to be an absolute send it down the inside, and Simonich goes for it for P number 2. He gets the position and gets it slowed down as well. He might go for the race win. Oh my god, it's a slowdown penalty for Sedgwick, and Simonich comes across the line in emphatic fashion to take the race win in GTEs. Have you ever seen a finish like that?
Wow, and look at Coroni. He was playing it smart the whole way and was right there to take the opportunity on the final turns and jumps all the way up to P2.
Oh my god. Oh my god, what was that? What have we just seen? We'll see it on the replay. Simonich from P number 3 to P number 1 in a matter of a chicane down the inside for the first apex, and then a fantastic exit because Cedric got himself a slowdown penalty in the dying moments. Incredible, incredible, incredible. Oh my god, I don't have any other words. That is just brilliant. By the way, Philip Weber, winner in GT3. Just had to mention that one before we get a little bit sidetracked. But oh my god, I've never, ever, ever seen a finish like that in my entire sim racing commentary career, Stephen. What has just happened?
That was been the culmination of everything we've talked about today. You know, getting the guy in front to look in their mirrors, to make a mistake. We saw that with Cedric on the final corner. You know, we saw the aggressiveness play a key there with that just beautiful send it there at the end. And then we also saw, you know, that wait and see strategy Coroni put in and just waited for that golden opportunity and jumped from P4 to P2.
We're actually hearing it might not have been a slowdown penalty. It might have been running out of fuel out of the final corner. So maybe Jack Sedgwick not expecting this race to go one more lap. It was very, very close at the end with Johan Hart getting towards the line with a couple of seconds to go. And he wouldn't be the first driver to fall for that one either. We've had that before in this series, but we'll go through your official race results just right about now. In your prototype field, we don't even have to go over it. It's Johan Hart taking the race win. No one able to challenge him. Neil Jackson, Liam Ian Quas will round out that field. But we'll get quickly on to that GTE finishing results. Alex Simonich, P number 3, coming up to the final corner. P number 1 coming out of the final corner. Absolutely brilliant. 0.6 of a second between him and Drug Coroni. Jack Sedgwick, after I believe fuel issues right at the end of the race, drops back to P number 3. Benjamin Gonzalez, P number 4, with Thibaut Kazubon, P number 5. Antitero, P number 6. Dakota Fripp, Silvestri, Umashima, and Marion will bring things down to P number 10 in GTE. Thomas Gibson, Jan Sinkowski down to P number 12. We got Scott Brazier, Andy Gorton, Peter Similek, Calvin Foydrant, and Luigi Nespolino rounding out your 17-car GTE field. Then looking back to your GT3 finishers, Philip Weber taking the race win from Wim Stockmans by 3.3 seconds. We got Soren Koloczki, and we've also got Miljan Radjovic there, P number 4. We've got Solodis, P number 5, Roque Garcia, P number 6, Jordan Fisher, P number 7, with Lamogi in 8th, CM Skinner 9th, and Donato Inglese, P number 10. Michael Fontini, P number 11. We've got Marcus Kruger, P number 12. Vince Peters gets himself P number 13. And we've also got Lapaya, P number 14. 16 laps down, unfortunately for him. But we'll just take a very, very quick commercial break here on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. It's going to be the post-race show next. And hopefully, if we get those drivers involved in the GTE finish out in here in the commentary booth to get their thoughts, that would be absolutely brilliant. But join us for it in just a couple of moments. See ya. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show here on RaceSpot TV, Friday primetime, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. What a finish we've had this week. That GTE finish was one of the most crazy things I have seen in sim racing, and I just have no other words for it. We'll get one of those drivers involved in that one and actually taking the GTE race win when all is said and done. We'll bring Alex Simonich into the commentary booth right now. As Alex, just describe that finish.
I don't know. I knew that this race was going to be a battle of fuel and off tracks, or slowdowns actually, and I knew that if you get a slowdown, you're probably not going to be in contention to win. But seeing that Johan was like 10 seconds behind us on the second to last lap, I knew that there was actually 3 laps left.
Yeah.
And I just started saving from there.
You started saving, but ended up taking 2 cars in one chicane to win the race. As did you feel confident that you could get the pass over Gerard Coroni, but were you expecting to be able to do anything about Jack Sedgwick after he ran out of fuel coming out of the final corner? Were you just settled?
Jack.
Go on.
I actually thought I was going to hit Jack leaving the final chicane.
Oof.
But no, passing Benjamin in there was kind of sketchy.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but you had to go for the move down the inside. It's the last lap. You just kind of have to go for those, and you did have P number 2 secure, but as soon as Jack just ran out of fuel on the exit of the corner, you were in prime position to be able to take the race win away. And is that one of the crazier race wins you've ever had?
Yeah. I know doing some practice earlier, I had a few slowdowns, and I was like, I'm not going to be competitive in this race, but seeing how it turned out, like how it did, it's a miracle.
Yeah, and you were describing seeing Johan 10 seconds behind you. Did you think that this race was going to go an extra lap even before that, or what did it come as a surprise to you?
I mean, I haven't done a race this week in it, so I didn't really know. I actually was thinking about putting 27 liters in, and then my teammate Dakota said 24, so I reasoned and put 25 in, which actually saved me.
Just those small margins just make all the difference. That is absolutely insane. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go for your race win?
Definitely a big shout out to Vendaval Sim Racing for picking me up. I couldn't have done it without them and their setups. I have to thank Dakota for the fuel suggestion, and just a big shout out to Matty for just being Matty.
Well, there we go. Win for Vendaval Sim Racing, a win for Alex Simonich. As Stephen, just wrapping things up right now. How was your first Race Spot TV broadcast?
Oh, it was phenomenal. I'm glad this was my first. As far as I love road course racing, and I know this isn't technically a road course because it is a closed course. It's on an island, but it's very much the same feel and experience as any road course out there, and it's a big passion of mine, so it's been really exciting to be here today.
Yeah, and I am very, very fortunate I got to commentate on this race as well, especially with finishes like that one. But that is going to be all we have time for here today on Race Spot TV Friday Primetime. Once again, another crazy round of the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. Join us for round number 7 next week, where you'll see, hopefully, even more crazy action. I've been Connery Maddock, that's been Stephen Burbidge. On the cameras has been Paul Smith. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.